Welcome students to the 2016-2017 school year. As you are well aware, our motto at Lewis Central High School is we are a community of excellence. To that end, we define excellence through our actions and decision making. The video you are about to watch explains the key components of our handbook to help guide you in your decision making. In addition to the items contained in this handbook, please keep in mind our positive behavior interventions and supports, or PBIS, 3 pillars of success of respect, responsibility, and initiative when you think about your actions, whether here at school or out of school. Please listen carefully as we review some of the specific highlights contained in your student handbook. As you're following along with me now on page 7, I would draw your attention to the expectations of this handbook. This handbook and school policies and rules and regulations are in effect while students are on school grounds, school property, on property within the jurisdiction of the school, while on school-owned vehicles and away from school grounds, if the conduct directly affects the good order, efficient management, welfare of the school district, or involves students or staff. School district policies, rules, and regulations are in effect at all times 12 months a year. A violation of school district policy, rule, or regulation may result in disciplinary action and may affect a student's eligibility to participate in extracurricular activities, whether the violation occurred while on school grounds or was in session. Disciplinary actions may include, but are not limited to, removal from a classroom, detention, suspension, probation, and/or expulsion. Discipline can also include probation from participating in extracurricular activities, including athletics and fine arts.
3 most common bell schedules. You'll notice some changes in the early out schedule. We no longer have Titan time on early out days. Titan time will be on Tuesday and Thursday of every week. In the middle, you'll see the Titan time bell schedule. All students are expected to be at Titan time. This will be a graded class and attendance is mandatory.
Closed campus. Lewis Central has a closed campus. Once arriving on school grounds, students may not leave without properly signing out through the attendance office. Also, any student not on the regular schedule must sign out again through the attendance office. Under the section of student issued key cards, in an effort to keep you, the students, and the staff as safe as possible, we are increasing the security of our building. Along with the office remodel project, we will become a buzz-in school. This means any visitors to the school must buzz the office to be allowed in. Students who take classes off campus, such as Iowa Western or Tucker Center, and students with shortened schedules will be issued a key card to allow entry to the main door during school hours. On this page is information regarding the use of these cards. Some items to keep in mind are: the student card will access the main door from the hours of 7:30 to 3. Access to this door will be turned off during any vacation days or days such as snow days. Students are not to allow anyone else to use their card. Access is recorded and video is taken anytime the card is used. Students are not to prop open doors to allow other students in. If a card is lost or broken, the student is to report it to the office immediately, and there is a $10 replacement fee. The student will keep his or her card as long as they are taking off-campus classes. The card will be handed in once the student is no longer taking such classes. The decision to issue a card or revoke the use of the card is up to the administration solely, and misuse of the card will result in disciplinary action.
Students participating in student activities must be in 4 credit classes on the day of the event or the day preceding a weekend event in order to participate. Prearranged absences, such as medical appointments, can be accepted and approved by administration. Off-campus classes count as 1 class. Part team activities age do not count as a class. Students participating in school activities will not be excused for being tardy or absent the day after an activity, no matter what time they get home the night before.
Now this section on attendance policy. Since failure to attend classes is a violation of school policy and state law, the administration will determine the discipline for students violating those attendance policies. Please remember, any student who accumulates 6 absences in a class during a term may be placed in non-credit status. We also will be working closely with the county attorney on truancy.
Under the section for makeup and pre-arranged work. Students who know they are going to be absent must fill out a pre-arranged absence form from the attendance office and make necessary arrangements with their teachers. It is your responsibility to make arrangements to get work made up with the teacher. Students are allowed 1 day for every day absent to make up work.
The section on the school day. The school day shall be defined as the moment immediately prior to the student's first course of the day and the moment immediately following the student's last course of the day. Students should not be on school grounds during their non-school day hours unless staff supervision has been arranged or the student is involved in after-school activities.
Under possession and use of medication, prescription medications are to be kept in the health office. In special circumstances, prescription medications may be carried by the student with parent permission. Students may never have possession of a controlled substance in the school setting.
Dances. LC dances are not public events open to all. Non-students may accompany students and must be signed in advance. In order for students to be able to go to dances, all fines must be paid in order to purchase tickets.
The section labeled Student Behavior. Lewis Central has very high expectations for positive behavior. You must attend all classes unless excused by a school official. You will promptly obey all staff members' directions. High expectations can be met by following the pillars of success: respect, responsibility, and initiative.
And the section of corridor conduct. Remember to follow all school expectations in our commons areas and our hallways. If you are waiting to be picked up at the end of the day, you are to stay in those main areas by the doors and not wander into any other wing of the building. As soon as the school day ends, students are expected to leave promptly.
On student searches. Article 3A, school officials may conduct periodic investigations of all or a randomly selected number of school lockers, desks, and other facilities or spaces owned by the school and provided as a courtesy to the student. Article 4, automobile searches. The school retains authority to conduct routine patrols of the student parking lots. As part of its routine patrols of student parking lots, school officials may use such methods including, but not limited to, visual inspections of student parking lots, student automobiles, and/or interior of the student's automobile, or the use by school officials or others hired at the direction of drug-sniffing animals to inspect student parking lots and student automobiles.
There is a strong connection between a student's appearance and his or her conduct and academic performance. Students and staff are expected to wear clothing that is clean, safe, and in good condition, considerate of others, is free of advertisement, graphics, or language on drugs, alcohol, tobacco, or violence, is free of sexual or disrespectful comments or graphics, and covers the student appropriately. More specifics: headgear and sunglasses are not to be worn by students. There should be no excessive exposure of the top or bottom. No undergarments should be exposed. Appropriate footwear should be worn at all times. Tank tops, spaghetti straps, and other garments that allow for excessive exposure of the chest area also should not be worn at school. The slide you are now viewing gives you examples of acceptable and unacceptable behaviors as they relate to our dress code policy. On this slide, please note there are exposed undergarments, so this would be unacceptable. Here's another example of acceptable or unacceptable as it relates to tank tops. On this particular slide, you have examples of a female student with a tank top that allows for excessive exposure. This particular slide is another example not only of a top that allows for excessive exposure, but the shorts are also unacceptably short for school.
Please refer to the section at the bottom on student driving and parking. Remember that the parking lot is off limits during the school day. Any student needing to retrieve something from their vehicle during the school day must have permission from the administration. Also remember that the school is not responsible for the vehicle or any contents inside. In addition, loitering on school grounds and in the parking lot is strictly prohibited, and the violation may result in a citation from law enforcement.
And look for the header, Academic Integrity and Cheating. Academic integrity is the fundamental value of teaching, learning, and behavior. Cheating may result in disciplinary consequences.
One thing to note under the section of nuisance items is that cell phones can be used during passing periods and lunch and with special permission from your teacher. However, they are not to be used to send threatening or inappropriate messages, cheating on tests, or any form of cyberbullying or harassment.
Is a section that addresses harassment, sexual harassment, unacceptable teasing, and bullying. Harassment, bullying, and abuse are violations of our school district's policies, rules, and regulations, and in some cases may result in violation of a criminal or other laws. The school district has the authority to report students violating these rules to law enforcement officials. Anti-harassment bullying complaint forms can be obtained in the counseling or administrative office or on our school webpage. Students who feel they have been harassed or bullied should do the following. First, communicate to the harasser or bullier that the student expects the behavior to stop. If a student needs assistance in communicating with the harasser or bully, the student should ask a teacher, counselor, principal, or other staff member to help do so. If the harassment or bullying does not stop, or the student does not feel comfortable confronting the harasser or bully, the student should tell a teacher, counselor, or principal, or other staff member. In addition, write down exactly what happened, keep a copy, and give another copy to the teacher, counselor, or principal, including what, when, and where it happened, who was involved, and exactly what was said or what the harasser or bully did. Please keep in mind, harassment, sexual harassment, unacceptable teasing, and bullying behaviors all can interfere with our learning environment, and we will have a zero tolerance for them.
The section at the bottom on the cafeteria. Remember that Lewis Central is a closed campus, and you may not leave for lunch. Suspected violators of this closed campus rule may be subject to disciplinary action, which may include eating in a different location. We also would like you to take pride in your school and your cafeteria and be respectful to the custodial staff and the lunch staff by cleaning up your area, placing your trays in your proper locations, cleaning up any spills, and staying seated until the bell rings.
Here you'll find the disciplinary matrix for consequences. False statements. False statements are knowingly making fraudulent, false, or misleading statements and are a violation of school policy and will result in disciplinary action. Notice under the category tobacco that e-cigarettes and other imitations are included and may result in suspension. Under the section drugs, possession, use, or under the influence of illegal drugs, alcohol, controlled substances, imitation substances, or paraphernalia may result in a suspension up to 10 days out of school, police notification, and possible expulsion. Bullying, meeting the criteria as defined in this handbook, may be a suspension of up to 5 days out of school. Fighting or attempt to physically harm one another through mutual combative physical conduct may be a suspension up to 5 days.
Please note the two paragraphs at the bottom. Follow along as I read these two paragraphs aloud. Students assigned a suspension will be required to complete a reflective problem-solving writing assignment. Within this reflection, students will be asked to consider the situation of their discipline issue, options they had when the incident occurred, disadvantages of their possible choices, and advantages of their possible choices. And finally, the best solution for their situation. Failure to complete this required reflection will likely result in additional suspension time in our ALC room. Students that take responsibility for their actions in a discipline situation and willing to share all needed information in the investigative process may receive a reduction in their disciplinary consequence. Students, please refer to the bus matrix. This matrix is in addition to those contained in the discipline matrix. All expectations and discipline responses contained in the student handbook are in effect for school transportation, bus stops, and other school-related activities.
Academic eligibility for extracurricular activities. In order to be academically eligible to participate in student activity programs, the participant must be a full-time student, must maintain a grade point average of 1.6 C- or higher each term, and must not be failing classes at the conclusion of a term. Senior students that have accumulated 50 credits can be considered full-time student by taking 4 different credit courses with parent approval. You must also pass 4 classes each trimester and have no Fs. Students that do not pass a minimum of 4 different credits in a trimester will be ineligible until the next trimester that they complete and pass 4 different credits. They must also maintain a grade point average of 1.6 C average or higher the previous trimester.
All visitors must check in at the principal's office.
In the section on technology acceptable use policy. In the section on violations to the acceptable use policy. Violations of this policy may have disciplinary repercussions, including but not limited to suspension of network, technology, or computer privileges, notification to parents or supervisors, detention or suspension from school or school-related activities, or legal action and/or prosecution.
The start of the Good Conduct Code. The responsibility of good conduct is the extension of the responsibility to represent the school and community in an appropriate manner. On the middle of the page, it lists, but not limited to, all the different activities that fall under the Code of Conduct. The 16 violations are broken down into 3 sections: violations 1 through 4, violations 5 through 9, and violations 10 through 16. Penalties for each of the levels are listed. If you're involved in any school activity, it is your responsibility to read and abide by the Code of Conduct.
Students, this concludes our highlights of your student handbook. Please keep in mind, it is the expectation you are aware of all contents contained in the student handbook. As I mentioned in the introduction of this video, this handbook clearly defines our 3 pillars of success of respect, responsibility, and initiative. Students, this concludes the key highlights from your student handbook. Please keep in mind you are responsible for all of the expectations outlined in the student handbook in its entirety. Let's make sure we have a great 2016-2017 school year. Go Titans!